I had just gotten back from work, eager to grab my keys and head out to meet a friend. The usual routine, nothing out of the ordinary. I pushed open the front door, keys still in hand, and stepped into the quiet, familiar house. Everything seemed just as it always had. The soft hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the faint scent of my wife's favorite candle burning in the living room. I thought nothing of it. I should have, but I didn't. The house felt still, almost too still. My wife was supposed to be here. She usually was by the time I returned home. It was strange that she wasn't waiting by the door or in the living room like she often did. I called out her name, but no response. My brow furrowed slightly, a little concerned, but not overly so. Maybe she was in the bedroom or out back in the garden. Still, there was something in the air, a slight dissonance I couldn't quite put my finger on. I shrugged it off and continued my search for the keys. I was running late and didn't have time to overthink it. But as I walked through the house, there were little things that seemed off. The front door was ajar, just enough to notice, but I didn't immediately think it meant anything. Maybe she'd left in a hurry. I walked into the kitchen. Still no sign of her. No dishes left out from a late lunch. No evidence she'd been here at all today. At first, I thought nothing of it, assuming she'd gone out to run an errand. It wasn't until I heard the sound that something started to itch in my mind. A faint murmur, a voice. Not just one, but two. It was hard to make out at first, but there was something undeniably intimate about the tone. The voices were coming from somewhere deeper inside the house, probably the bedroom. I froze. My heart skipped, and instinctively, I pulled my keys from my pocket, clutching them in my hand, unsure whether I should walk toward it or leave. A knot formed in my stomach. It was the kind of unease you get when you know something is wrong, but you don't want to acknowledge it yet. I stood there for a moment, debating whether I should confront whatever it was I was hearing, but something kept me rooted in place. The voices grew clearer. I heard her laugh, soft, playful, the way she only laughed around me. But it wasn't for me. She wasn't laughing at anything I'd said. My mind raced. It couldn't be. Could it? I had to be imagining this, overthinking as usual. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe it was a friend on the phone. Maybe she was just talking to someone casually. But the voice, her tone, was too familiar. Too intimate. I moved closer to the door of the bedroom. My fingers wrapped tightly around the doorframe, every muscle in my body frozen in place. The sounds filtered through, murmurs, laughter, and then, unmistakably, words. "I love you," she said, so clearly, so softly, as if there was nothing to hide. A chill ran down my spine. My grip tightened on the keys in my hand as I tried to steady my breath, but my pulse raced in response. My wife, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, was speaking in a way I hadn't heard in years, if ever. The man's voice followed, lower, gentler. "I miss you too, babe. When can we be together again?" I felt my chest tighten. I had to lean against the wall, bracing myself. My mind was scrambling, trying to piece together what was happening, but I couldn't form any logical explanation. My wife, my partner, my love, was with someone else. My stomach churned violently at the realization. All those nights, the small absences, the quiet moments, had they been nothing? All the trust, the devotion, the years of partnership that I had assumed were shared, had they meant so little to her? I wanted to scream, to storm in there and confront them both. But something held me back. The image of her face, the warm smile she always gave me when I came home, it was all a lie. And that thought, how easily the smile could have been feigned, cut through me. She had to know I was home by now. She must have heard me. But no, she kept talking, oblivious to my presence. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, my body rigid, my mind spinning. Each word they exchanged felt like a dagger, tearing through everything I believed in. I wasn't sure if I was ready to face what I'd just heard. But deep down, I knew that I'd never be the same again. The words were still echoing in my head. "I love you." I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, almost too loud, too fast. Everything around me seemed to disappear. The only sound remaining was that voice, her voice, tangled up with his. I stood frozen in the hallway, gripping the keys tighter, my fingers numb, unable to move, to think straight. A part of me wanted to run out the door and never look back. But I couldn't. I needed to know. I needed to face this, to confront the reality that had shattered everything I thought I knew. His voice came again, clear, smooth. "When can we be together again?" The words hit me like a punch to the gut, and for a moment, I thought I might collapse. I never imagined this. Never even considered it. My wife, the woman I trusted more than anyone, was having an affair. A part of me wanted to believe I was wrong, that maybe I'd misheard, or this was some strange misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew it was true. I couldn't take it anymore. I moved closer, inching toward the bedroom door, every nerve in my body screaming at me to leave, to pretend I hadn't heard anything. But I was already too far in. The reality of what was happening was undeniable. There was no turning back. I stood there, just beyond the doorframe, heart racing. Her words became clearer with each passing second, like daggers, stabbing into the very foundation of our life together. "I want to be with you," she whispered, and the way she said it, the longing in her voice, felt like betrayal seeping into my soul. The kind of betrayal you never thought you'd face in your own home, from the one person you trusted above all others. I thought back to the little things, the moments that had seemed so innocent before. The late nights she'd stayed at work, the odd text messages she'd hidden, the times she seemed distant. I had chalked it up to stress, to life just getting in the way. But now it all made sense. Every tiny piece was falling into place, and it hurt more than I ever thought possible. I heard him laugh, a low chuckle that made my skin crawl. "Soon, love. I'll make sure of it." The words felt like they were wrapping around my chest, suffocating me. The more I listened, the more I realized how deep this went. This wasn't some fleeting mistake. This was an affair, a full, conscious decision to be with someone else. Her voice trembled when she responded. "I miss you so much. I don't know how I've been able to stand it." There it was, the truth. She missed him. It wasn't just physical, it wasn't just about sex. It was emotional, too. She had feelings for him. And I was the one left out in the cold, standing in the doorway, listening to her confess a love that wasn't mine. I stood there longer, paralyzed, unable to tear myself away, even though every part of me wanted to. My mind raced, spinning in 1,000 directions. How long had this been going on? How many times had she looked at me with that same smile, while hiding a secret I never could have imagined? My throat felt tight, like I couldn't breathe, like I was suffocating in the very space that used to feel safe. I had no answers, only questions. Endless questions that seemed impossible to answer. I was tempted to storm in, to confront them both, to throw everything. I couldn't take it anymore. My legs felt like they were made of lead, but I forced myself to move toward the bedroom. Every step was like dragging myself through a thick fog, each one heavier than the last. My heart was still hammering in my chest, my mind a mess of anger and disbelief. I had to see her face. I had to confront her. There was no avoiding it now. I pushed open the bedroom door, the air in the room suddenly feeling colder than it had before.
She froze when she saw me.
Her eyes went wide, her lips parted, as if she had been caught doing something she hadn't expected. For a brief moment, time seemed to stop. I stood there, staring at her, my breath coming in sharp, uneven gasps. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't supposed to be like this. She wasn't supposed to be like this. What the hell is going on? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. My voice was rough, thick with the emotions I couldn't contain. Her expression shifted, guilt, shame, maybe even fear. But I didn't care about her emotions. I wanted answers, and I needed them now. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out at first. There was a long pause, like she was trying to gather her thoughts, but all I could hear in my head was the voice of that man, the voice I now knew she was in love with. I wanted to scream, to demand an explanation, but I couldn't find the words. Finally, she managed to say something, her voice small and shaky. I can explain." My anger flared at her attempt to justify it. "Explain? What is there to explain? I just heard you. I heard everything. I heard you tell him you love him. I heard you plan to leave me. The words felt like knives, and I didn't care where they landed. She needed to understand what she had done, what I had just learned about her. I never meant for you to find out like this, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, but I didn't want to hear it. There was no excuse, no apology that could fix what had already been broken. No, you didn't mean for me to find out, did you? I shot back, my voice rising with frustration. You didn't mean for me to find out that you've been sleeping with someone else behind my back, that you've been lying to me for who knows how long. You think an apology is going to fix this? Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I thought she might cry. She stepped closer to me, but I backed away, not wanting to be near her. I couldn't look at her, not after what I had just heard. Not after how easily she had betrayed me. I didn't want to hurt you, she said, her voice trembling. It just happened. It was a mistake. A mistake. I spat, bitter laughter escaping my lips. No, this wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. Every text, every secret conversation, every moment you spent with him, it was a choice. You don't just fall into an affair. You make that choice over and over again. Her eyes welled with tears, but I didn't want to see them. I didn't want to feel sorry for her. I couldn't. My chest was tight with rage, with hurt. The love I once felt for her now felt like a distant memory, something that belonged to someone else. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice breaking. I never meant to hurt you. Then why did you do it? I demanded, my voice rising again. Why did you hurt me? Why did you destroy everything we had? How could you look me in the eyes every day and lie to me like that? I don't know, she stammered, her hands shaking as she reached out toward me. I got lost.
It wasn't supposed to be like this.
Please, just let me explain. But I couldn't listen anymore. The words she was saying meant nothing. They were just excuses, feeble attempts to explain away the pain she had caused. I wanted to lash out, to shout, to make her feel the way I did. But deep down, I knew that would only make it worse. Nothing she could say would ever make this right. I don't want to hear it, I said, my voice low and cold. You made your choice. And now you'll have to live with the consequences. She flinched, and I saw the guilt in her eyes. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to make me forget what I had just heard, to make me forget the image of her with him, of her loving someone else while I stood there in the dark, oblivious. The foundation of our entire relationship had just crumbled, and no amount of pleading or apologies could rebuild it. I turned and walked out of the room, my mind still reeling, my chest heavy with the weight of what I had just discovered. Every step I took away from her felt like a step towards something new, but I didn't know what that was yet. All I knew was that whatever we had, it was gone. I walked out of the room, but I couldn't leave the house.
Not yet.
My legs felt heavy, as if I was carrying the weight of everything that had just shattered. I stood by the door, my back against the wall, trying to breathe, but the air felt thick, impossible to inhale. The conversation we had just had kept replaying in my mind, each word, each look she gave me, hitting me harder than the last. I didn't know what I expected her to say, but whatever it was, it didn't matter now. Nothing mattered. I ran my hand through my hair, trying to clear the fog in my head, but it was futile. I couldn't shake the image of her face, the face of the woman I thought I knew, now just a mask I couldn't see through. I thought about all the times we'd spent together, the moments we'd shared, the trust one had given her.
And now?
It was all gone. Everything was a lie, and I was the fool who couldn't see it. I heard her voice from behind me. Please don't leave like this. It was soft, pleading, but I couldn't face her. Not right now. Not after everything. I didn't know what I could say that would make any of this better. What was there to say? How could I even look at her knowing what she'd done? Her words felt empty to me, and I couldn't bring myself to offer her any comfort. I wanted to feel angry, to feel some kind of justice, but mostly I felt numb. Turning away, I headed for the door, the need to leave, to get out of there, growing stronger by the second. But even as I reached for the doorknob, I hesitated. Was I really going to walk out without saying anything more? Was I just going to let it end like this? The silence between us grew. It wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. She wasn't speaking anymore, and neither was I. The weight of her betrayal hung in the air like a thick fog. Everything felt wrong now, every moment, every interaction we had ever shared. The trust was gone. The love I thought we had was gone. And in its place was something unrecognizable. A coldness, an emptiness that left me feeling hollow. I turned back to face her. "I don't know what to do anymore," I said, the words slipping out more painfully than I anticipated. "How do we go back from this? How do I even look at you after everything?" She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She couldn't explain it. She couldn't undo what had been done. I didn't expect her to.
I didn't want her to try.
The truth was, there was nothing left to fix. The damage was done, and the more I thought about it, the less I wanted to try. "Maybe you don't," I muttered, the anger still bubbling under the surface. "Maybe this is it. Maybe we're done." The words felt final, but I wasn't sure if I was ready to accept them. How could I be? I didn't know who I was without her. We'd built a life together. What happened to that? Could everything we had just vanish like that? Could we really throw it all away over one mistake? No, not one mistake. It was more than that.
It